You made this?
Feeling good, got some weed up in my wood, chasing dreams just like I should, letting go because I could. Used to have my...
All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today I got Pull Up Basketball Podcast. BJ, how's it going, man?
What's good, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. So just giving like a background of, what you do, what your, profile page, channel page is all about. So if you just want to give like a quick background before we jump into everything.
Yeah, man. So my name is BJ, like JK Philly said. Appreciate you having me on, man. So I have a page called the Pull Up Basketball Podcast that I cover the Clippers. I work for the Clippers in the media, but I'm an NBA junkie. I used to play basketball. I played overseas, played college, semi-pro, high school, all that good stuff. So basketball's been a part of my life for like 20 years. So it's a field that I'm very interested in. A field that I'm very good at. So you guys come to my page and you just hear some good basketball talk, no matter what fan you're a team of.
For sure. Appreciate that. So yeah, like I stated in the beginning, I'm going to try to keep it not too short, but I just want to get your thoughts, of course, being around the Clippers and watching them all the time. I feel like you probably got the best insight over a person on the East Coast who doesn't watch a lot of Clippers games, so I figured we try to reach out to you. But let's just start with my first topic that I got here of, I think a lot of why it's going to my mind of wanting to talk about it is because when we had the whole James Harden fiasco beforehand, it's just like, hey, maybe we can trade him for Trey Man. We'll try to give some stuff up. We'll see what happens with it. And then we go and we see this year, Trey Man, of course, with other players getting traded for Bogdan. I just want to know what that experiment's been like, basically with Bogdan, and of course, a little bit of Trey Man with James Harden now.
He's a fan favorite, and he was moved at the trade deadline for Bogey. So, me personally, I've been a fan of T-Man since he had that 21 finals, Western Conference Finals with the Clippers and PG and Reggie Jackson, all them guys. Man, that was a historic time. Marcus Morris, he's a Philly native, I know. So T-Man was definitely somebody that I hated seeing leave, but based off of the whole situation, Ty Lue limited his minutes. Clipper fans know for the last 3 seasons, they've been really advocating for T-Man to really get a lot of playing time, and he just ain't been getting the time we feel like he's deserved. So he got moved to a situation in Atlanta, and, he's obviously playing more, but I hated seeing T-Man leave, and that was an experience that, I never really will forget. I remember talking to him the first time, very, very down-to-earth guy, soft-spoken, but plays extremely hard, and just a good person all around. And as far as Bogey, I'm not the biggest advocate of Bogey. I like what he brings with the shooting, outside shooting, all that stuff. But I felt like, Atlanta let him go for a reason. And when he got to us, he had a few good games in the regular season, and in the postseason, he just was pretty much non-existent because he couldn't be able to uphold his weight and the physicality against a team like Denver, who's big in size and in the front court and all that stuff. But, he brings shooting to the table. That's pretty much it, though.
For sure, yeah. It's just funny how the way things play out. And, of course, James Harden, when we had him, and then going over to you guys anyway and just, playing alongside him. And now that you see that he's gone to get Bogey. And, of course, when you think about Bogey, it's the same thing of like, man, I don't think I'm going to get the Bogey Atlanta Hawks. I want that Serbian in the Olympics playoffs. So that's the Bogey that I want. Of course, that's not always how it plays out to be, but it's definitely a interesting concept.
Yeah, and see, that's what I think people get it twisted. They said they think they're getting the Serbian Bogey, but that's a different competition. You're dealing in the NBA with guys who are more athletic, faster, and all that stuff you were doing overseas, definitely respect it, but the NBA is a little bit different. I heard somebody saying that he can play make, and I've never seen Bogey play make in the NBA. I've gone to be a stretch shooter, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you, but yeah, let's move over to the next topic that I really had. I don't know which one I want to start with first. I do want to obviously talk about James Harden, but I think it also somewhat relates to talk about Kawhi as well in terms of the injuries that him, and even, you can relate Joel Embiid to the same type of concept. So I feel like all two of these concepts basically relate. But let's start with James Harden, just the experiment from this year. I definitely want to dive a little bit into the playoffs towards the end of the episode, and just, I want to get your key takes from that. But just James Harden this year, and seeing, how much Kawhi's been in and out, and then more consistently towards the end of the year. How do you think the James Harden experiment for the regular season, of course, really went this season?
James Harden, regular season. I think if we're gonna go honestly, based off the expectations, I think they exceeded expectations as a team. Personally, James Harden as a player in the regular season, I feel like he carried the weight as far as, assisting, playmaking, scoring, and he played 79 games. Durability to me is the most impressive thing. He's able to be so durable on the court at his age. So I think it was a success in the regular season. I think that players upped their value. Norman Powell upped his value. Mr. Zubac upped his value. The defense was top 5. James Harden had probably the most responsibility as far as the usage rate that anybody outside the team. He led the team in minutes as well. And with Kawhi being out, I think that's the biggest thing about having a guy of that caliber. He's going to be available. He has a skill set to play, make, and assist and score, not like he used to as far as the efficiency, but he does bring certain intangibles to a team. Releasing the regular season, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely want to pair that alongside Kawhi Leonard. Of course, we alluded to it already, of just, the injuries that he's had throughout his whole career, but basically trying to fill out the last bit of the season, and even including the playoffs, of playing alongside James Harden. Like, how special is that going to be if Kawhi can, continue to stay healthy, or at least play more games than not throughout the next couple of years?
Man, that was our biggest wish, is seeing. I know y'all feel the same way about Joel.
Yeah.
How y'all feel about Joel is how we feel about Kawhi. We were so excited. Kawhi played 37 games this year. Playing and just getting the opportunity to see him out there was just, a great thing to see. He ain't been healthy since the bubble.
Yeah.
And finished the whole, year since the bubble. So with James, I don't think they particularly fit. I'm not too crazy about the deal. I thought him and PG were a better duo. I know Philly is kind of like feeling PG now from PG right now, but I think with us and the Clippers and Kawhi being a two-way player, PG being a two-way player, I think they mesh more than a guy like James Harden, who's good on the offensive end, but defensively he's a liability. Kawhi likes to play with guys who play both ends. So I'm not really too excited about Kawhi and Harden being a duo. I'm just more excited about Kawhi being healthy individually.
For sure. That's definitely interesting. I definitely want to jump into the playoffs right now to see, how you feel about that as well. But it's interesting to hear you say that because, as a far away fan of the Clippers, especially in that first playoff round, I'm talking with all my friends that are all Sixers fans, and obviously we don't care what happens, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm rooting for the Clippers to win this Game 7, man. Like, I don't want Denver to go on. I really wanted Clippers to come out and, like, actually make a push this year. Very unfortunate that didn't happen, but just want to get your thoughts and takes of, good and bad from how you saw this first playoff season.
How I saw the series, or when I thought coming in?
Yeah, give me from before Game 1 all the way up to the very last seconds of Game 7, how you felt.
Okay, well, first off, coming into the series, I seen it as a 6-7 game series, and a lot of Clipper fans were going off of the regular season. The last 20 game stretch, they went 18-2. They were saying, okay, we're gonna beat Denver. I'm like, Denver's a championship caliber team with a great core. Yes, they fired their coach. Yes, they fired their GM, but you still have your core with Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. So They know how to win. They got something that the Clippers don't have. So I think a lot of times Clipper fans get excited about what could be, and then they get let down at the end. But as far as going from 1-7, Game 1, I feel like they fell back into bad habits, didn't close the deal. They were up 15 points in the first half, and based off the structure, they weren't disciplined. Game 2, much of the same thing, except that Kawhi Leonard was able to close that deal, and he pretty much came out and just dominated. Game 3 was their best game, beat them by 34 points. And then after that game, I felt like the Clippers were like, okay, we can really take advantage of this series. And a lot of Clipper fans felt the same way. But obviously, the Aaron Gordon dunk really kind of took the air out of all Clipper fans. Like, damn, they could have went up 3-1.
Right.
And then Aaron Gordon just takes out that gift from them. So after that game 4, I felt the Clippers were going to lose that series because I've seen them the last 5 seasons, and they just don't respond well against teams that are more disciplined, against teams that's been more experienced in championship situations. Denver was more in order. Their coach, I remember hearing their coach talk after post game. He seemed like he was very, very poised, which is something that Ty Lue, I feel like, has an issue against coaches like that. Regardless of what the media says, like he's a top coach, I disagree about that. But I thought the game 4 of the series was going to go to Denver, and then Jamal Murray did what he did in game 5, game 6. The Clippers barely pulled it out. Yeah. And then game 7, the Nuggets just pretty much ran through them. So if you ask my thoughts, game 4, I thought the series was pretty much done.
No, yeah, it's interesting. Well, it's that James Harden curse. I swear, it's what we were talking about, of just like him not performing up to the standards that we believe that he should be performing at all times. So just like, even when we were playing against, I believe it was, I don't even remember the team. No, it was the Celtics. We lost to the Celtics, and he had like a 45-point game. This was 2 years ago. He had a 45-point game in like one of the games, and he scored like 7 the next game. So it's just like that continuous cycle. What did he finish with, 9 in game 7? So, you know, that's why I asked about the experiment earlier in the beginning, because it's just like you get the good and you also see the terrible side of him as well. But I definitely agree. Like I said, I wanted to keep it a little bit short, so that's really all the questions that I do have. I know you alluded to in the beginning of just like all your profile and channels and like that, but I definitely want you to promote again just on your way out.
Yeah, man. So you can find me on the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, pull-up_podcast, Twitter, or they call it X now, at the Pull Up Shows. Check me out, LA Clippers Media, but also NBA Savant. So, JK Philly, I appreciate you having me on. Oh yeah, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Where do you see the Sixers at this year, with the Joel, Tyrese, and Paul?
Like, just review overall from how they did this year, or just like my expectations for next year?
Your expectations for next year.
I think coming into the season, even this year, before all the injury drama, we were very, I don't even know the word. We were hopeful for how the season was going to play out. Of course, the biggest question mark was always Joel Embiid, so we were okay with that because that's what we've been dealing with for years now. But Paul George coming into this and, you know, having showing us what he could do from the previous season with the Clippers, we're like, okay, if we can get even, you know, like half of that, I think we'll be okay if Joel Embiid can perform. And it just didn't play out like that. And even the games that he did perform in this year, I think, you know, you could give him a little bit of credit of just like, you got hurt really early into the season, and then you felt the pressure on you to be that next guy because Joel Embiid's out. So you continue to play on and on and on, which just made your injury worse and worse and worse, which made the fans hate you even more. So I think if we come back to, you know, Joel got the surgery, or he's planning to get the surgery, Paul George has this long extensive time where he can really rehab and get back to where he needs to be. I'm still hopeful because it's still the Sixers. I would love to see them still do something because we spent a lot of money on Paul George, so he's got to give us something. But right. I try to be hopeful for. I don't want that to be the main message in my mind because we just spent $200 million on this guy, so he better do something. But that's the only thing that's in my mind about that part of it. But I'm hopeful for the team.
I think y'all gonna be okay. Yeah. It just I think more so it's about what Daryl Morey has around him, and Jared McCain. I think that kid is. I think he's gonna be okay.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely special. I hope, you know, he doesn't skip a beat when he comes back from that injury, and he's right back to where he needs to be and where he left off from. So we'll see how the season plays out. But like I said, definitely appreciate you coming on. Make sure that you guys click all the links down below in the YouTube channel. I'll definitely promote everything that we got going on, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Talk to y'all. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.